Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Rugby NorCal Podcast. I'm your host, Nate Dalena. Today, I get to sit down with a good friend of mine, my first ever rugby coach. His name is Brendan O'Meara, also known as Brendo. Brendo started his journey of coaching at St. Mary's, but started his playing days at one of our clubs in Northern California. So excited for you guys to learn about that. He's now the attack coach at Anthem in North Carolina, the professional team, right? And that Anthem team is kind of like the pathway to USA Rugby. I don't know if you guys have ever seen that or heard about that, but they're kind of like the pathway into the Eagles, right? There's a little bit of details that we go into there. There's a little bit of this, a little bit of that that I think was really cool. But I loved hearing about his journey, right? It's been just amazing, really, the risks that he took, how he's been able to get to where he gets to, and I just love hearing how he's continuously been a student of the game, and he's always trying to just do his best with wherever he's at. And I think that message is really important to all of our players and anyone in the rugby space, right? This game is huge. There's a ton of different tactics and thoughts and beliefs and things you have to do as an individual to be good at this game, not only from a player standpoint, from a coach standpoint, a referee standpoint, and the fact his attitude towards the game, I think, is something that we can all have a little takeaway about. Obviously, we talk about our St. Mary's days a little bit too, and how a couple of things that he coached me on, which was there. And thankfully, he only talked about the good things, which I'm very appreciative of. So let's get into it a little bit with Brendo. Really excited about it. But before we get into it, we're going to talk about our sponsors. First, World Rugby Shop. World Rugby Shop for all your needs for this rugby season. The club season starts. The club season is starting in a couple weeks here. This is recorded in February, but we've got a couple weeks left in our single school division for high school, and then our club season comes, which is our big season, obviously. So super juiced about that, but everyone needs rugby stuff, right? So head on over to worldrugbyshop.com to get your World Rugby Shop stuff today. Your jerseys might be from World Rugby Shop, your shorts, the balls, your cleats. They've got everything there, mouthpieces. They've got an electric, highly recommend for coaches out there, the electric ball pump. I just saw they have a branded one on there now. There is nothing like being able to pump up the balls on the field and not have to use like a bike pump or a hand pump. Those things are so annoying. The electric ball pump on worldrugbyshop.com. Get it. I'm telling you, you are going to thank me. Maybe get two because we got a lot of balls we got to pump up on game days. Get two. All right. Worldrugbyshop.com. Next is Next Phase Rugby. Next Phase Rugby is a recruiting platform where players can go on and get recruited. We've been talking about it a lot this year, especially when we're interviewing college coaches. It seems like there's a bunch of university programs that are now using it. I mean, there's already a bunch on there before, but now it's really making its way across the United States. Again, it's important for players to understand if they want to play in college, what do they want that experience to be, right? What kind of player are you? What kind of person do you want to be? And what kind of program do you want to be a part of, right? And Next Phase Rugby helps you do that. So head on over to Next Phase Rugby and create a free account if you want to just go in there, learn, and maybe start talking to some universities. But if you want to pay for the premium account where you get a little more bells and whistles and a little bit more publicity on there, use the code NorCal, 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 and you'll get $50 off that premium subscription. So head on over there right now and let's get recruited. Next is Irish Rugby Tours. Irish Rugby Tours is like probably one of the most well-known rugby touring companies in the United States. They've been around forever. I just learned today we've got multiple clubs within Rugby NorCal going on an Irish Rugby Tours tour, right? And they can send you anywhere. It's not just Ireland. They'll send you anywhere. They've got everything lined up for you. They've been doing it for a long time. And really, how this touring thing works is you got to know people. Got to know people in the countries where you're going. That's how you're going to have the best tours. These guys have been doing it for a long time, and they're really good, and they know the most people, and so you're going to get a good tour, basically a guarantee. So head on over to irishrugbytours.com to get your tour today, and I highly recommend all the clubs. You got to go on some sort of tour. You got to do it, right? It just helps build so much community within your club. Like it's just so great. So head on over to Irish Rugby Tours and see what you can do. Finally, VO. VO is our AI camera company that sponsors Rugby NorCal. A ton of clubs are using VO now. I mean, we were looking at the SenCal Challenge the other day, and then we've got some KOT stuff going on for the girls this upcoming weekend, and we're seeing VOs everywhere. They're great cameras. They last a long time. It's easy to use for sure. And they tag all of the videos once you upload it into the system. So then you're not sitting there like trying to tag all the scrums and lineouts and penalties and scores and everything. And so we love VO. They're super helpful. They come in a really nice case like this too. Love it. Right. and with a big tripod as well that you have to strap down when you put that camera up. Make sure you're strapping those VO tripods down so they don't fall. But yeah, just love VO and everything that they're doing, and we're super appreciative of their support. And I think really, since we've gotten into this deal with VO, the games are much more easily accessible, right? We're able to see more games on YouTube, right? And coaches are able to coach better, right? Because they're able to see what their actual needs are. And players are able to play better because they're able to see themselves, right? It's hard to really, it's really difficult to coach just based off feeling, right? Once the players start to see things, that really helps them understand where they need to be and why they need to be there, right? So heading over to vo.co or reach out to staff at rugbynorcal.org if you want to grab a VO cam. I think we can help you out on getting a deal. So again, vo.co, staff at rugbynorcal.org. All right. Again, before we get into it, just like, subscribe, share. We're trying to grow the pod. We're trying to grow the community, right? So send this thing out. Give us a rating. That would be super appreciative. I would be super appreciative and thankful if you were to do that. But I'm going to stop blabbing now, and let's get into the podcast with Brendan O'Meara, aka Brendo. Here we go. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Rugby NorCal Podcast. I'm your host, Nate Dalena, and I'm here with quite possibly, and I think this is a true statement, the only U.S. born and bred rugby coach, professional rugby coach in the country. Am I saying that correctly, Brendan O'Meara? I'm pretty sure.
I don't know factually. I hope not, but from an MLR's perspective, especially now that we're down to 6 teams, I think last year I might have been. So there's a chance that I'm the only American born and raised, yeah, coaching in the MLR with a true assistant coach, full portfolio role.
Yeah, let's go, Brendan O'Meara. So Brendo for short, as people will know. So Brendo, actually, you were my first rugby coach as well. I don't know if people know that or not, but I'll never forget. We're lined up to do tackling drills. I'm a junior at St. Mary's. Tim says go. I go up to make a tackle. I put my head across. I light this guy up. You come over and you go, "Hey, great tackle. Put your head on the other side." And I've been saying that ever since. And so good stuff here. A nice little anecdote from the history books there, back from 2012, I think is what it was.
So I distinctly remember your first few weeks. I
Oh God,
remember
let's hear it.
I remember because you were a baseball guy, correct?
Correct.
Which
Correct.
it's funny. I've had a few baseball guys during my St. Mary's tenure. Baseball guys, no rugby experience come across. And it's interesting, right? Because you're not tackling people in baseball. But I remember we were moving from one side of the field and we were going to another part of the field. Very, first few practices, and we're like, all right, we're gonna get into some tackling. And I remember you made a comment like, tackling, let's go. Like, and I remember turning to one of the other coaches. I'm like, that's interesting from the baseball guy. Like, let's see what he has when it comes to collision. But no, and then you actually, that was a strong part of your game. Like you were holding nothing back when it came to a collision. And I do remember common thing, right? Not a lot of rugby training, head on the wrong side, but you
Mhm.
were a big guy, so you kind of survived it with no issue. But I always try to spot that early and say, hey man, like when you come across like for like size and speed, if your head's in the wrong spot, it's not going to go well. So yeah, it's funny because I remember I remember your first year. Yeah.
Am very appreciative that you talked about some of the good things there and not my lack of cardio or anything else. And so I certainly
Wow.
appreciate that. That's for sure. But getting into it, I would like to know. We're going to start the podcast off here before we get too into the my glory days. I would say, where did Brendo start playing? What was your first experience? What was your first day like in rugby, and how did that experience go?
Yeah, so I'm from San Francisco, born and raised, city proper. And yeah, San Francisco Golden Gate was my club.
Yep.
Sophomore year of high school. My first exposure would have been I had an older brother who played for San
Mm.
Francisco Golden Gate. He was 2 grades above me. In my freshman year, I was a pretty scrawny kid. Freshman year in high school, I put on a lot of weight, for football, which helped in rugby through my 4 years of high school. But my freshman year, I was kind of discouraged to play because it was like, you're too small, you don't want to play, you're not ready. But I was always intrigued by it. My parents are Irish, and so we spent our summers going back and visiting family in Ireland, and wasn't not rugby people at all, more Gaelic sports. My dad was a big soccer guy, but still just because like the connection, like my cousins would have like a rugby ball, we'd throw it around and kind of aware of the sport. But then seeing it live on the sideline when my brother was playing with a bunch of guys from a couple of different high schools in San Francisco, Sacred Heart, SI, Reardon. I was just like, just loved it. I just like the freedom of it. I was a running back in high school, so I always loved running with the ball. So sophomore year went out, San Francisco Golden Gate, and it was great. Some legendary coaches, Mike Caravelli, Tony Wells. Tony Wells is still involved with high school rugby in NorCal.
He's still the high school coach at SFGG. They just won
Yeah,
the Premier League last year for the first
yeah,
time.
there you go. So great people. The late Ray Sharon, a buddy of mine's dad, an Irish guy, just great like rugby men that taught us how to be rugby men in high school. And I do this probably isn't great for your listeners. My very first rugby game ever was at College Park. Do they still have a team in San Jose?
They don't.
It's like that would be like Bellarmine,
Yeah.
Midi type guys.
Bellarmine's still around. Yeah.
Um, First game, this would have been like 2000, I don't know when, 2002. But Hugh, I was gonna play B side. It was like my first week of rugby. A side games going on. First 5 minutes, huge brawl.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
like my team and our whole time in San Francisco Golden Gate was just a bunch of buddies from San Francisco, guys that weren't afraid to play some rugby, or if it changed into something different,
Yeah.
happy to oblige. But so a bunch of us were all brand new on the sideline, and we don't really know how things work. So we see fight break out, our buddies. We just start storming the field to get in. Like we're in. Our buddies are fighting, and the coaches, Mike Caravelli, Tony Wells, they somehow like get to us before we can get involved and like scream at us, get our attention. We get off the field, and eventually, it was a pretty decent brawl. You wouldn't see these days. Ref gets game under control, no cards, game continues, and then we get a really good like rugby life lesson from the coaches. They just rip us apart and basically like, you guys all think you're tough. Well, in rugby, there's 15 of your teammates and 15 of them. And if it changes into something different than rugby, those 15 got to figure it out on their own. And that's how it works. And I remember just sitting there thinking like, oh, I like that. That's fair. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
all good.
Yeah.
But that was my
Yeah.
first rugby experience ever, was just watching a mass brawl, trying to join it, and then getting taught that that's not how it works in rugby. It stays on the field, the 15 and the 15, which was a very good lesson. You don't see as much of that anymore, obviously, but that was just I always think about that. That was my first rugby game ever.
Yeah, 2002, pre-Rugby NorCal. And if you look, I mean, shoot, man, you go back into the history books, the videos and everything of what rugby used to be to what it is today. I mean, the game is so significantly different not in just the tactics, right? And obviously, like you're an attack and backs coach, and so we're gonna get into that here in a little bit, but just the way that it operates is so different now too. And so it's not surprising that, stuff like that goes on. It's not surprising that stuff like that went on back then. And it's the evolution of the game over a period of time just kind of makes it, turns it into, what it is to, in the game today, for better or for worse. I think it's for better. But yeah, I mean, the game is always evolving. The players are always evolving. The people are always evolving, and that's what sport is. And so, I'm just glad that you're still around. That you stuck around after that 2002 game. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So.
I don't know if it's a good thing or bad thing, but that didn't get me less excited.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? Rugby in and of itself does attract the the more aggressive types, right? And I think the best thing about it is it kind of puts us in gives us an opportunity for at least have some sort of outlet, right? So,
No, 100%. And even then with like that, like you're talking about, the game's changed a lot. There's a lot of things that were messier and a little more violent back then that have changed. Like you can't obviously used to be able to ruck and step on people if they're on the wrong side of the ball, which doesn't exist
yeah.
anymore. But even in that like a bit of kind of principle and honor around, hey, if a fight happens in a rugby game, those guys on the field got to figure it out on their own. And if they lose, they lose.
Yeah.
There's still just parameters and some gentlemanness involved in the
Hmm.
rugby.
Yeah, totally. Totally. And I just, you look at any sport really, and you look at it, back in the day compared to today, and it's all like that. right? People take the law into their own hands frequently back then, right? Now it's just obviously a little different, but no, I'm totally with it, and I don't think we can really shy away from what the sport used to be and what the sport was. It is our roots, right? I think you have to accept it and you have to understand why, and the understanding and the teachings that you got from that, and then obviously as things get more, I don't know, I don't even know how to put it, but if things get more, you know, professional, it gets a little bit different. There's a lot less of that, which is what we need, especially in youth sports. But moving on though, so you had a great time at SFGG, early 2000s, right? And then your track goes through St. Mary's. Talk to us about that transition from high school into St. Mary's and the Tim O'Brien effect, and then kind of where did that lead you? You know?
Yeah, I knew I wanted to play. I played football, but I'm a 5'8" white guy, so I was like,
Right.
chances of me going D1 aren't high, and I really
Right.
enjoyed rugby my 3 years, and so back then it just was such a different landscape. There wasn't like recruiting. There was kind of one powerhouse, Cal. They had all the resources, not too dissimilar. They still have the most resources, but they had pipelines to Jesuit, and if you were some insane talent, then they'd talk to you. But I knew I wanted to play. I knew I wanted to play in a serious program, and so I just luckily went to a Christian Brother high school in San Francisco, got some financial aid and need-based scholarship to go to St. Mary's. Nothing to do with rugby. But I had a couple friends that I played at SFGG that were older that were at St. Mary's. And I called them, just said, hey, I've got a couple options. St. Mary's is one of them, and spoke very highly of the program. So I didn't step foot on St. Mary's campus, even though it was only 45 minutes away from the city, until my orientation.
Nice.
Just like
Nice.
it was literally like, that's the best rugby situation. Rugby's serious, sweet. Mom, dad, does this financial aid going to do enough to get me to be able to pay for it and go there?
Yeah.
Sweet. All right, I'm in. And then, yeah, going there, the Tim O'Brien effect is a great way to put it. I mean, I can easily say everything I did in rugby, after SFGG and everything positive, including the fact that I'm able to coach professional rugby now. I think there's a zero chance that it would have
Mhm.
happened unless I went through St. Mary's program. And I remember my first couple weeks because, I had good coaches in high school. It was club, you're training 2 days a week. My first couple weeks, like, I just loved how full on it was. I also had zero idea how fit you needed to be.
Yeah.
Like, one of my scariest moments my freshman year, that was like it sounded like it was Tim and Johnny's like third or fourth year maybe. And I found out later that it was the first year that like the first 6 weeks of preseason was nothing but running.
Hmm.
And I remember the
Yeah.
first day of conditioning, I'm like the last back, just like dying. And like it terrified me for weeks that Tim's like, you better figure it out or you're going to get your number cut in half.
Yeah.
Which means go from a back to a forward, which
Yeah.
terrified me.
Mhm.
But no, man, it was great. Just great group of dudes, great program. A few weeks in, I remember just thinking like, can I ever know about as much about this sport as this guy knows?
Yeah.
Just because the knowledge and the ability to communicate it and coach it, it was it was next level. I have no doubt during my time in college for sure, like there was not a better coach when it comes from an X's and O's standpoint.
I think that's it's a common occurrence when you leave that program that you still look upon the game and your experience there in a really positive way. I think there's some clubs and some organizations that, there's kind of a mixed bag and a mixed review of your time there, and, for me, certainly, you look back on it and it was the hardest thing I've ever done without a doubt. But,
Yeah.
you look at it, you look at it so positively in that, like you look at the difficulty in a way that, there's nothing else you would have wanted to do, even though it was terrible in it, when you're in it.
Yeah.
Right. So.
No, I mean, if you don't want to hear strong pro St. Mary's bias, then I urge you to turn off the podcast.
Yeah, that's pretty fair.
Because
Yeah.
that's it, bro. Like it's known across the MLR and even in like the Eagles setup. They think we're like a cult
Yeah.
because like the St. Mary's guys are just like so pro St. Mary's, such proud alums, and like we all kind of stick together and we're so happy to see each other. I mean, I'm like a coach now. So like
Yeah.
I'm seeing guys I coach at St. Mary's. Now there's guys I haven't coached at St. Mary's starting to pop up. Um, and dude, there's tons of guys in the league that'll be like, God is a Gale. And they didn't
Uh,
just because
because they know. Yeah.
they know, and they just want to jump on the bandwagon because generally we're all, positive about the sport and positive how we operate in the environments we go to. So, yeah, man, I can't speak highly enough of it. I tell anyone that talks about, you know, a rugby career, wanting to get the best out of their college rugby experience and then potentially go to higher levels, I say St. Mary's is the place to be. Like hands
Yeah.
down.
I'm with you there, brother. I'm with you there. Although we do have a lot of great programs in Northern California, so I got to give a shout out to everyone else trying to, really work hard to get there. But again, we've experienced what we've experienced, we're going to have what we think, right?
Yeah.
But when you were there though, and as you were like going through the process of, rugby being like who you are and what you're all about now, right? Like was coaching ever on your radar? Is it something you wanted to do? Was coaching in your family at all, or did it just like something that just kind of maybe came about? I'd love to know that journey, that transition from player to coach.
Yeah, I always thought I was going to coach something. Like even in high school, like I respected my football coaches and my SFGG coaches. And I was always, any sport I played, I was kind of just one of those typical students of the game, like always trying to find an edge just by understanding the game to the best of my ability. Um, so always thought I would try and coach something.
Mhm.
Never at any point thought of it as like, I'll go try and coach as a job. Um, Even St. Mary's, I left St. Mary's, I went and played a half a season in New Zealand, and then like we didn't have pro rugby, right? So like when I played SFGG, the Super League, which was the old league
Yeah.
that was club system across the whole country, it was actually a great league. Um, but amateur. But my goal was because SFGG was always really good. One of the top Super League teams had a ton of foreign guys come in. My goal was like, man, someday I hope I can play Super League. So
Mhm.
finished St. Mary's, played half a season down in New Zealand just to get a bit of life experience, and then came back, had to get a real job, kind of had a knee surgery, finally like accomplished my goal, made the Super League team the last couple of years of the Super League. But with work and life, like I didn't like, I knew, I'd be like, man, it'd be really cool to help out at St. Mary's, but I just didn't see how it would ever fit. And then eventually around like 27, 28, I was like, there's no way I can keep playing, keep my body intact and work and all that. So a couple of years was just out of it. Honestly, it was kind of a depressing time. Like wasn't playing,
Yeah.
wasn't involved. I always kept in contact with like Tim and would ask about the team and, ever like popped in a couple of times. He'd be like, come out to training, but nothing really formal. And then finally, through work things were going well at work. I kind of negotiated like the ability to leave early,
Hmm.
and come in early. And I just reached out. I said, "Hey, man, if you guys need some help, I'd love to come out." And he said yes. And the same year, Andrew Cook was able to. So,
Yeah.
who was my contemporary, he played a couple years behind me, and I played with him. So. Yeah, man. And even then, it was just like happy to be involved, happy to try and help. Just love the program, love the sport. Again, zero thought doing that this would be
Yeah.
like a job.
Yeah. Yeah. It's amazing, right? And I wanted to hit on like there's one, those 2 years where you weren't doing rugby, like it doesn't matter how far away you try and get from the game, like it's going to bring you back. Like it's 100% going to bring you back, whether it's the game itself, or the community of people that are around you, or that you learn or that you like hung out with, right? The game always brings you back. There's just something about it that like you just can't get away from it, you know? And so, no, but so you go back in and say, marriage, you just want to give back. You're not really expecting anything, right?
Yeah, I mean, listen, if I'm honest, I think this is probably a lot of coaches' journeys. Like, it's like half give back, half selfish, right? Like, I
Yeah.
want to be involved. Like, one, I believe I have something to offer. Like, I love the game, I love the program, but you're like you said, like you just feel so disconnected from the sport that you love. And so there's a bit of you're doing it for yourself. You just want to be involved. Um,
Hmm.
and then you realize pretty quickly, like, what coaching's about. Like it is giving back to these players. Like my wife, who also coaches, she'd be kind of in my ear because I wasn't that old. So it was like she'd be in my ear about, you're an example for these young men and all this stuff.
Mhm.
And I'm like, you're crazy. Like
Yeah.
that, like Tim and Johnny, they're the examples. Bass, they're the examples. But then you kind of realize you are, and you're such a part of people's lives when you're on that journey, especially
Mhm.
through St. Mary's. Like we're pretty full on. We spend a lot of time together. So then it really becomes like what it is. It's just about helping people get better, putting these people in a position to get the best out of themselves, become the best version of themselves. Um, and that is rewarding in itself. And like, listen, you got to love the game. I'm competitive. I want to
Yeah.
win everything I do. I love the sport. I'm confident in my abilities to understand the sport and articulate how to get better at it. So there's parts, all that is part of it. But yeah, man, there, again, no thought of it still being a job. Like
Yeah.
that was
Totally.
that took years. That took years.
Yeah. Yeah. And I want to get into that. I want to figure out how that, how that came about. And to be honest with you, my story is very similar, not in the fact that I'm a professional coach now, but, I love what the game does for people, right? Tim always talks about how it's a test, right? It's a it's a problem solving equation and a test, right? And it really kind of shows, especially when you're first starting, like who you really are. Like the game kind of reveals who you really are if
Yeah,
you're,
100%.
yeah, and like all the good and all the bad too. And like I certainly have been revealed many times on a
Yeah,
rugby
same
field.
here,
Let me
man.
know. Let me know. Let me tell you. So like that's what I love about it is that, it really it does a good job of revealing who you are in a very intense problem set. And it allows you, but it also allows you to kind of like grow and find out about yourself. And I think that's kind of what really got me hooked. Is it's kind of helped me get to a different place than where I was, and and being able to coach that, being able to introduce that sport to players of any of any shape, size, and age, really, I think that will benefit society in a really good way. And maybe I'm kind of grandiose by saying that, but I truly do believe that. Um, well, so you're coaching at St. Mary's, right? We have, but then and now, I mean, you're at Anthem, right? Which is the USA Rugby pathway, basically, right? You're also
Yeah.
an attack. I believe you're also an assistant attacks coach for USA Rugby as well, or something. I may have gotten that title wrong, but like, when did that? How did that get there? How did you go from like, hey, I'm here to like give back and maybe get my competitive juices flowing again, to like, oh, hey, like now I'm a guy, you know?
Um, yeah. I mean, I don't think I'll make my coaching and clarity abilities look too good here because I don't
Uh,
even know how to explain that, like how we got to today. Because
Yeah.
I think I've been in like 5 states in the last, well, more. I've probably been in 7 states in the last 5 years because
Hmm.
also like my wife coaches Division I basketball, so
Hmm.
trying to manage, like we're currently in Eugene, Oregon, and I'll go to Charlotte for the season. But to bring it back to the beginning, so I'm at St. Mary's, and dude, my first 2 or 3 years, like I have zero idea. Like when you talk about what coaching is, I have zero idea.
Yeah.
And Tim, Tim's old school. Like there was no like coach development. Like, hey,
Yeah.
like this is how I watch film, or hey, this is how you should set up. Like, no, it was just like, hey man, you're here, like do it, you
Yeah.
know? So
Yeah.
um I look back and it's kind of funny, like, and me and Cook talk about it because he feels the same. Like the first couple of years, you're kind of hanging out. Like, you'd grab a player here or there and be like, "Hey, man, think about this," and whatever. But it the thing where everything changed was like I don't like being a hater, and like I was seeing all these people coach like the age grades, like the high school All-Americans, the U20s. And I'm like, I don't even know who any of these people are. And like,
Yeah.
we're coaching St. Mary's. And again, I like half think I know what I'm doing, while also I'm very aware I don't know what I don't know about like really coaching. And I've been in one environment. Like I've played in different environments, which were good experiences, and they help form how you see the game and how you see everything. But I basically say to Tim, like, hey man, who gets these jobs to like coach those teams? Seems like who they know, and I know you. Like,
Yeah.
and the dude's a pretty big deal, right? So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was kind of thinking like, hey, I was kind of signaling to him like, dude, I want to have a crack at this stuff to try and get better as a coach.
Yeah.
And just see what it's, another experience. So from that, I ended up getting on the U20 staff
Mhm.
with Scott Bracken was the head coach. He's now the San Diego State head coach. Great guy. A couple other guys, Mike Engelbrecht, longtime servant to rugby, coaches the Dallas Harlequins. Um, and they'd been around. They'd coached like high school Americans. They do a lot of era stuff. So that was an opportunity just to get out and go to a new environment. And listen, coaching U20s in the US, especially back then, was pretty tough. Like you get like a week and then you're playing Canada in 2 tests in 7 days.
Yeah.
They've had
Yeah.
6 weeks in a spring tour, and our guys have to like had to pay, so half of them don't come. So
Yeah.
it's definitely getting thrown in the fire. But I go to that, and again, new experience, new players, other coaches, different ways of doing things, really sparks things. And the kind of the catalyst of getting me into that was JD Stevenson, who was involved a lot in the
Yeah.
pathway, and now he's doing. I kind of make fun of him. He's in the wilderness,
Yeah.
but he's
Yeah.
up in Montana
Montana.
doing
Yeah.
great stuff. Like
Yeah.
building something there slowly, but something real. Which again, another guy that is great. He's still involved because he's very talented, and he's going to build something in Montana that I think can be really beneficial and probably replicable in many other states. But yeah, probably a lot of side tangents in this. So he was great. He was actually
Mhm.
really good too, just those beginning times. Because man, he's just gets coaching from the craft. So I learned a lot from him early, just on the basics of coaching that probably I didn't get given to me. And it was great to have done coaching for a couple of years and then be like, okay, there's actually like important things to know about like how you set up a drill and the things you should be thinking about and how you give your messaging. So that was great. Did that for 2 years. It was just again new ideas, opportunity to talk to other coaches. Then I start thinking like, man, is there a way to do this full time? Like the MLR is starting to go, not really opportunities just being given. And like I had a really good job. I worked at the Port of San Francisco. I'm coaching what I considered the top development team in the country already, the St. Mary's College. I enjoy it. So start talking to the wife and thinking like, if something comes up, would we be willing to give it a look?
Yeah.
Um, have a couple of conversations with some MLR teams about like maybe go in and coach an academy, but you're talking like unlivable money. And
Yeah.
again, I'm looking at it like I'm already coaching an academy that's a more real academy than that. So um, not sure, not sure it's ever going to happen. Just
Yeah.
like who knows? And then again, just people right? So Dave Hodges, who I forgot to mention, Dave Hodges was legendary Eagle. He was the general manager of men's 15, so he also was
Uh,
involved with me getting that opportunity with the 20s, and he was around and kind of seeing how I operate. But he got brought in to be an advisor and kind of the director of the academy of the Austin Gilgronis.
mm,
Um, so the now infamous Austin Gilgronis that
mm,
they got kicked out of the league. But
yeah.
so I get a call from him one day, and he just says, "Hey man, they're looking for an assistant coach for the MLR, and that at the same time be the head coach of the academy." So that was interesting to me because again, like I wanted to be coaching MLR if I was going to make the move. I didn't want to just start as an academy coach because I felt like I was already doing that. So I'm still kind of pessimistic, like, okay, cool, like there's no
Yeah.
way like it's going to work out money wise and all these things. So anyway, long story short, the reason the Gilgronis probably didn't exist very long was at the beginning they were throwing a lot of money around. So
Yeah.
the money was doable, and my wife was open to making the move and me giving it a crack in professional rugby. So that was it. We moved to Texas. I don't know what year that was. 2022, maybe
Sounds right. Something like that.
before
Yeah.
the 23 season, maybe, I
Yeah.
think. So yeah, couldn't have been a better place to start
Yeah.
because from a high performance professional setup, like so lucky. Went in
I
there.
went to that building. They did have a pretty nice setup. Yeah. I went to
Yeah, it
that.
was
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
And staff wise,
Yeah.
so the other thing was when they first asked me, they said they want me to coach the breakdown, the attacking breakdown and restarts Like that would be my responsibility, which is a big thing as a coach. Like if you're gonna be like an extra assistant,
Hmm.
like you want to hang your hat on something. Like,
Okay.
do I have something that's mine? And so it was very clear, like, hey, do you think you could coach attacking breakdown and restarts? And I just said yes. In my mind, I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't really give a shit about those areas, but okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and then be the head coach of the academy. So we went out there for a visit before we made the decision because obviously a big life decision. And the
Yeah.
attack coach was Mark Gerard, legendary Wallaby player,
Okay.
longtime professional, who what it tripped me out, man, because Sam Harris was the head coach, played a bunch of Super Rugby, played in Japan. He was a little older than Mark Gerard and Isaac Ross and Jamie McIntosh, who were the other coaching group. And those were, when I was in college, the only rugby we could watch was Super Rugby. You could get a subscription on your laptop. So I watched like every Super Rugby game in college.
Yeah.
And these guys were playing during that time period. So
Yeah.
for me, as kind of like this American rugby nerd, I was like pinching myself. It was just like I was on a call and they were like, "Yeah, so we're trying to figure out who will be your assistant coach for the academy." And we're thinking it'll be Isaac Ross. Isaac Ross is like a 10 cap All Black,
Yeah.
played Super Rugby, played a ton of years in Japan. And I'm like, I remember calling Andrew Cook. I'm like, dude, my they asked me if it was okay if my assistant coach would be
Isaac
Isaac
Crow.
Ross, to this day is a really good friend of mine. And he's just an awesome human. So I get there, and this is the setup. And Mark Gerard's coaching the attacking backs, and he knows that's really what I want to be coaching. And he just says, "Listen, like, seems like we have a good vibe. You'll be with me, man. Like, I'll help you. You'll help me. I'll give you some responsibilities. Like, and it was like, as long as you're covering your areas, you can be involved with the attacking backs, and like we can work together." And he
Yeah.
ended up just being one of the best dudes. Like, no ego, just really enjoyed working with him. Jamie McIntosh was the forwards coach, became really good friends with him. He's now the forwards coach at the Hurricanes and Super Rugby. He's coaching the All Blacks B team, which is New Zealand 15, and by all accounts, considered a world-class coach.
Yeah.
Then we had Simon Thomas as our head of performance. The guy had won like 4 Super Rugby titles as Scott Robertson's head of performance and right-hand man for the performance side for the Crusaders
Huh.
and like the just being in the room with these guys,
Yeah.
like unbelievable, just and they were so good to me. Like there was no like you're an American guy, what do you know at all? Like
Yeah.
from day one, they respected me as a coach, like asked my opinion. And I went there knowing like all I care about is I'm just gonna try and be a good dude and work as hard as I can.
Yeah.
Because you don't know when you level up. Am
Yeah.
I at the level? How long is it going to take me to close the gap? So I was just like, as long as I just be a good dude, work hard for the team, work hard for these coaches, like hopefully I can close the gap if there's a big gap.
I mean, it
Uh,
sounds like a good player. Sounds like what a good player would say too, isn't it? Like,
yeah, I think
I
it's
mean,
a
like,
good key to success, man.
yeah, like it's a beautiful thing, you
And
know?
I
It's a
will tell
beautiful
you,
thing.
one of my first moments
Yeah.
ever, like you talk about the difference between going levels, everything's just so time efficient and organized. My
Mhm.
first drill I ever did was like on the sheet, 8 minutes. So like, and we got radios on because you're communicating, making sure we're super efficient. You know, you're trying to waste no time on feet, no time
Yeah.
in training. First drill, it's 8 minutes. We had like 3 grids going. I had one. It was time to switch. And I finished the drill and I was like, no, everyone come in. I'm like gonna,
Yeah.
have a quick chat about how the drill went. And Simon Thomas is in my ear like, time's up, mate. You don't get a debrief.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
no. Like I'm like, oh, okay, you guys got to go. And Mark Gerard was like, he didn't have a grid. He was like letting me do the grid, and he's just kind of like he can hear the radio too, right? So he's
Yeah.
hearing shoot out. And there might have been a comment of like, this isn't American college rugby, mate, or something,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that would
Sure.
have been like the harshest thing that ever like was done. But like, and Mark Gerard like put his arm around me. He's just like, hey, mate, like we got to stick to the times here. Like if you want to debrief, you just stop it a minute before the transition time. And it's just like, it was just like, okay, sweet. Now I know. But
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
funny because it was just like, okay, like that's the
Welcome.
difference. Yeah.
Yeah, welcome. That's nice. I mean, that's good, man. I love to hear though, because I've been fortunate enough to be able to go on a couple tours and take some teams here and there too. But it's like a lot of guys, they are. like you can run into coaches with the ego stuff. You can run into coaches with like they don't want to give, right? But then there's a ton of people that do want to give and that do want to respect their time and do want to like, help too, and so it's great that you got put into a position and well, you took a chance, number one. I mean, you took a chance, you moved to Austin to be a rugby coach in the United States. Like that's outrageous. And you get around a group, you say it out loud, it's pretty wild. And then but you find a group that, like, I'm sure was probably some of the bedrock of whatever of everything you're still doing now, right?
No, 100%. I mean, the example they set of just like the basic principles of what it takes to coach at that level,
Hmm.
from an X's and O's, like ruthless levels of detail and organization and messaging and clarity, but then also just what are we there for? Like we're here to help these players become the best they can be and put them in once you're in a season, it's put them in a position to perform at the best of their abilities every weekend.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, man, it was just uh, to this day, like, you look at all the steps along the way, and it's super, super lucky to end up with that group. And all those guys, still my friends today, man. Talk to them regularly, chew the
Hmm.
fat, ask questions. They've always just been so supportive. Like, obviously, this journey, which we'll talk about, has had quite a few ups and
Hmm.
downs. Like, I've lost my job twice when my team was at the top of the table and performing,
Yeah.
nothing to do with coaching, which actually happened in Austin, right? So we go through
Yeah.
Austin.
Yeah.
By all accounts, everything was going great, man. We finished top of the table. There's a lot of, I mean, there'll be a 30 for 30 on the whole Austin
Yeah.
Gilgronis, LA Giltinis situation that happened that year
Yeah.
and both teams dissolving. But I knew going into it, because people were super supportive. I've always had all my friends I played rugby with at St. Mary's, but people are definitely making sure you're making the right decision when you're quitting a career job for the Port of San Francisco.
Yeah.
Uh, my immigrant blue collar parents, like in one sense, they'd be so happy that like I get to pursue my dream. In another sense, they'd be like, this is like the dream we had that you get an amazing job like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Exactly.
you're taking off. But I remember I said to everybody, I was just like, I'm going to coach professional sports. I
Yeah.
could get fired in the first week. And me and Lisa, we're going wide-eyed knowing what we're getting into.
Yeah.
And then the crazy part is it goes well, and then we still obviously lose all of us lost our jobs because the team went under. Um,
It's yeah. You
so
do a
one
good job,
year,
but yeah, you do a good job, and then and then you're not there. It's crazy.
yeah, one year, and what a lot of people wouldn't even know is Mark Gerard's family was pretty homesick from Australia, so he'd already talked to the management and Sam, the head coach. He wasn't going to come back, and Sam had already told me that, hey, we're going to bump you up. You're going to take the attacking backs.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
it was like, holy cow. Like
Yeah.
I'm 1 year in and I'm like bumping up. And I should say too, that whole year, I look back now and you got to remember, like I was like a nervous wreck because it was my
Yeah.
first time. And so
Yeah.
I'm just like working so hard to make sure my areas are coached well and I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. It was but like again, they were so supportive and the players were great. Great group of players. Um, and yeah, and then like, hey man, like you're getting bumped up 1 year in to like
Hmm.
goal, which would have been to
Yeah.
be assistant coach coaching the attacking backs. And then, a couple months later, it's like we don't have jobs.
Yeah.
So
And just talk about the roller coaster, right? Talk about the roller coaster. How do you get through that? How do you like what was what happened after that? And how do you get through it? What were you thinking in it? Like what is
it
that?
was
What is that?
it was crazy. I mean, it's a long story. Like we actually had a trip planned to go back to Ireland to visit family, and the trip was going from late July into August, and our lease was ending
Yeah.
at the end of July. So it was like, well, what are we doing? And long story short, we just had to put everything in storage in Austin. We went to Ireland with the plan of flying back to Austin, and then we are going to drive to Eugene, Oregon to my in-laws and
Hmm.
then just try and figure it out. My wife at the time was working online for actually a coach development based in basketball, but a coach development company that has subscription based coach development programs and
Hmm.
stuff.
Got it.
So she could work from anywhere. And it's just the crazy life of coaches, man. We go to Ireland with this plan to come back, fly into Austin and drive whatever the 30 hours is to Eugene, Oregon.
Hmm.
Uh, and while we're in Ireland, she randomly gets a call from the head coach at University of Montana, women's basketball, and she gets offered a job there.
Hmm.
Um, and I don't have a job. So she's kind of in this mode of like, hey, I'm down to support, you pursuing this. Because a couple MLR teams called and
Hmm.
said, hey, like Austin's done. We've heard good things. We'd like to chat. Nothing was real yet.
Hmm.
So she's talking to Montana. We're in Ireland. We fly back to Austin. On the way to Oregon, we stop in Denver to visit St. Mary's great Rob Carlson.
Hmm. Shout out Rob.
In Denver, I have a cup of coffee with the Raptors, the American Raptors,
Yeah.
who are, I wasn't very interested in what they were doing, but they were changing what they were doing and they were going to be entering Super Rugby Americas.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
so that was interesting to me. And that was different. I wasn't interested in the full crossover development thing. It just wasn't like I wanted to coach rugby players.
Yeah.
I just had this great experience in Austin. I just wanted to build on it and continue to coach that type of rugby. But they were going to start bringing in real rugby players to have a bit more of a mix, real rugby with some crossovers and go to this new competition.
And by
Um,
crossovers, you mean that because their thing was they're bringing over football players and other
yes,
sports into the game.
former athletes from other American sports, mostly football.
Yeah.
They had a whole thesis of like, if you train them full time in rugby, you can make the best rugby team ever, which I mean, we can do a whole podcast on that. But
Yeah. Yeah. Oh.
but again, I wasn't interested in that, but then it wasn't announced or anything, but they were communicating, hey, we're going to be pivoting and
Mhm.
looking to bring on another experienced coach, and they had heard good things. Um, so we leave Denver, drive to Montana, where my wife formally interviews at the University of Montana. This is all like makeshifting our way to Oregon.
Yeah.
She gets offered the job there. I get offered to come coach the Raptors, and we're like, well, what are we gonna do? And we just kind of decide, hey, we'll try and do both. Like we'll have to be separated for, you know, periods of time and try and get home for a couple of days here or there. But that's um that's what we ended up doing. I went to the Raptors, coached that
Mhm.
season in Super Rugby Americas. She coached University of Montana. Um, so that was the next step of the journey.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. And then you make your way back into MLR, right?
Yes. So
Yeah.
then the Raptors thing was pretty, they also don't exist anymore, but that was
Yeah.
pretty complex. It was a tough season, like some good experience, some really good people. Um,
You would play international, like you'd be in like North America and South America, right? Those are where the games
so,
were.
so yeah, so every team, it was essentially the Super Rugby Americas comp is like the Chile
Yeah.
national team is the pro team.
Yeah. Yeah.
Same
Yeah.
with Uruguay, unless they're like in Europe or
Yeah.
something. It's like all the national team guys that don't have European contracts are there. And
Yeah.
then Argentina uses it as like their development teams. So I
Got it.
think now they have four teams. When I was in it, they had two. And it's more like 18 to 23-year-old Argentinians that are trying to make it,
Got
uh,
it.
but still very good teams. So yeah, I mean, our first stint down there, we were in South America for a month, 4 games.
Four games. Didn't
Yeah,
leave South America the whole time. You just,
didn't leave
yeah.
South America. No.
Wow.
So again, dude, it was a pretty cool experience and some really, again, good people. Really enjoyed the people I worked with. But kind of knew I'm not going back.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like just not for me. It wasn't good enough a situation that made sense to be away from my wife. And then we don't really know what we're gonna do. She's in Montana. This is like June after that season. She gets a call from University of Oregon, this is her hometown, and that's a pretty big time program. So that's just like no brainer. Like I don't know
Yeah.
what I'm gonna do. Take that job. So we buy a house here because we're moving to all these areas, and it's like, well, this is finally one where housing is nowhere near the cost of California and other
Yeah.
places. So we buy a house here. Her parents are here. She's got two sisters here with like tons of nieces and nephews. So we just figure like, hey, we'll set up home base. She'll coach at Oregon. Her family's here, and like ideally, the goal was for me to get back into the MLR. Um, and I get a call ironically from Dave Hodges, the same guy who called me from Austin. He's just checking in what my plans are, and he said, "Hey, I think Utah
Oh
Warrior
yeah.
are going to be looking for an attack and backs coach." And I would have never thought Utah would be an opportunity because I'm actually friends with the guy who was the attack and backs coach, Sean Davies, former Eagle, great guy, great coach, great player. He was going to be leaving, and Utah has a lot of rugby, man. Like there's the
Tons.
BYU people, so I
Yeah.
just I just figured they'd have someone in line, but yeah. Long story short, I have a call with Kimball Kerr, who's the CEO. Talked to Greg Cooper. And this is where, the world becomes small, right? Greg Cooper, previously longtime experienced coach, former All Black back in the day. He coached Jamie McIntosh,
Hmm.
the
Oh
Highlander.
yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
he would have rang Jamie McIntosh and said, "Hey, what do you think, Brian O'Mara?" And he spoke highly of me. So the world becomes small fast. And next thing you know, they offer me a role to be the attacking backs coach at the Utah Warriors, which I take. And so I spent the last 2 seasons with the Warriors.
Yeah. And so I mean, so many different like anecdotes there. It's
I know,
right.
I'm
Like
sorry.
it's like
It's
no,
like the
no,
longest story ever.
no, but no, but I mean, it's a testament to like faith in oneself and pursuing what they want to do without a doubt. And I mean, there's taking risks and then there's trying to be a coach in rugby in the United States. Like I mean, that's incredible, right? And so like it's so many things I want to hit on, but like the fact that you wait everywhere you wait, you just try to do the best job that you can do, and that builds, right? The good compounds. Like I total belief in that. Like one good choice, one good thing, that it doesn't matter how small, those good choices, those good actions just continue to compound over a period of time, right? And that leads to more opportunity, right? And so that's just something that I try and live by all the time. And then, secondly, really, it's like, the world gets small fast. I love that, I love that. I mean, especially in rugby too, where everyone's so accessible and everyone's so like, everyone wants to talk. Everyone wants to, give their side of things. I know you and I have talked in the past too. Like, you're taking you've always taken an educational approach to like the sports that you're playing, right? And from a coaching standpoint, you're always trying to get more insights from everybody else. And my main thing and one of my questions was like, why not go international? Right? Why not go coach internationally? You're doing all this great stuff, but in reality, like you're getting all these international coaches to talk to you, and you're applying that stuff in the United States. Is that how that went? You know?
Yeah, I mean, if I'm honest, the goal is to go international.
Hmm.
But it's also it's 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 a challenge. The American factor has I've
Yeah.
had some good conversations. I've had a couple close calls, but at the end of the day, man, an American coming through the American system, um, there is a stigma there, right? And like you're
Yeah.
competing against people from rugby nations. I would say I'm pretty lucky in that my network, which again, networking is a weird thing for me. I'm not a big networker, but essentially in rugby I am because I'm just trying to talk to everybody. Like,
Yeah.
because I just want to get like at the end of our job is to be a relative expert in the sport if you're trying to coach.
Hmm.
I would have in my previous years, I'd probably be shy of saying this, but like I'm not shy of the reality is like I want to be my current pathway, I want to be a world-class assistant coach.
Hmm.
Like people talk about head coaching, like I'm not afraid of it, but what my preference right now is I want to be the best assistant coach that coaches the attacking backs or some semblance of that portfolio. And I want to be world class. I want to be one of the best in the world. And
Yeah.
I don't want to be afraid to pursue that. And I'm very lucky in that just through some friends and through different things, I have a good group of guys that are coaching at higher levels, international tier ones or super rugby, that will hop on a Zoom with me. They'll respond to it. We'll get on a call. We'll chat about rugby. And those guys are the guys that it hasn't happened yet, but when jobs come up, they're calling for me and trying to give me an opportunity. But exactly like at the same time, I'm lucky that I get to do it in this country, you know?
Yeah.
And I think there's a
Yeah.
lot of value I can bring because I want to make sure I'm not the coach that's coaching in America. Well, oh, well, the American player. Like to me, that's insulting to me and the players.
Yeah.
I believe I can coach the game from an X's and O standpoint, the same as any foreigner that's going to come over. But at
Yeah.
the same time, I do know the landscape, and I do know the American player the same way a Kiwi knows the Kiwi player, and it's not a
Yeah.
derogatory thing, which sometimes I think it's used as. Um,
And
but yeah,
what you
it's,
think so? Is that what people say? They say like, oh, they're American players, they don't get it or something. Is that how that
well,
works?
just like the American player, it is a different development pathway.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but it's just like anyone in any system, right? If you're Irish, you know the Irish player better. Like to me, it's more like a cultural thing. Like I understand, like American players, even talking to other coaches when you talk about like messaging and using
Mhm.
analogies, like using, like when you talk about now, here's a perfect example. The aerial game has become this huge thing now because you can't escort uncontestable kicks.
Mhm.
And so some of the detail around like how you go up in the aerial contest. Well, if you're a right wing going up on the right side, you actually want to jump off your left foot to get your right leg up because
Mhm.
you're right hand, right?
Yep. 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 Yep.
Um, it's similar to layups,
Mhm. Oh, yeah. It totally is.
right?
Yeah.
Am I even getting that right? If I'm going,
Yeah.
yeah, you
Yeah.
jump off your left.
Yeah. You jump off your left so you can let it. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you
So
can.
it's so like speaking of like it's like, oh yeah, well for an American, you can point out they're like, hey man, how do you do a layup?
Yeah.
If you're going to
Good
the left.
connection. Yeah.
Where to me, that's like where it's like, the American player, like, how to connect certain things,
Yeah.
certain messages, just because it's a cultural thing. It's not, you know,
Fascinating. That's so cool. That's so cool. Do you
but
see like I mean, you've been able to coach, I'm certain a wide variety of player, right? Like, is there like this significant, like more difficulty or difference between the American player and everyone else? Other than that they just haven't played as long, right?
no, I think it definitely gets exaggerated. Like,
Mm,
listen, I've coached Americans that just get it. They understand rugby. You tell them once, they're extremely coachable. They study the game, like they're very professional. I've
mm,
coached I've coached Kiwis that are very literal, like very good athletes. Maybe they didn't make it in their home country and they're in the MLR because they actually don't see the game as cerebrally as you'd think. So it comes down to the individual. The biggest difference is those countries, the competition to make it is
mm,
so much harder than
mm,
in our country. Because
yeah,
the number, like, you don't make it over there if you don't have if you're not very professional, coachable, studying the game, watching film, taking care of your body, then if you're making it, it's just like our sports, right? It's because you have some physical attribute that is just above and beyond, and you can kind of get away with it. Where we just don't have that yet from a player pool, in my opinion.
interesting.
And then it's just because of the competition, the high school level. Like most overseas countries, it's like high school level, and then it's like pro and club. It's not like they don't have
Yeah.
like university rugby the way we do.
Okay.
So the level of competition is higher consistently across the board. And what does that bring? That just brings more pressure, less time and space.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
you have to be more consistent with skill sets and all those things that you won't get away with when you're playing. Just like anytime you move up a level, time and space,
No.
physicality all goes up. Time and space goes down, physicality goes up. So
Mm,
I just think they get that at a younger age, right? Like you deal a lot with high school rugby, and it's just like how many. And based on the podcast I listened to last week with you and Goff, it sounds like the competition in high school rugby is getting healthy.
yeah.
But it's just, yeah, like how many, like the NorCal League you guys talked about is dense. So
Yeah.
those kids are just getting more games with higher pressure, which
Correct.
you need the pressure. You need it to be hard to develop. Like you
Yeah.
need to feel what it's like to have no time on the ball and make a decision quicker or execute a skill set quicker.
Hmm.
Because that's what happens as you go up. Time and
And can
space
you
goes away.
can you do it quicker? That's the thing. Can
And
you
you do
even
it quicker. Yeah.
can you do it quicker? And then are you making the right decision too? Yeah.
Well,
It's just
and that's the struggle. It's like, do you realize you have to do it quicker?
yeah.
You're playing at a level where you haven't had to do it quicker. You haven't had to make the decision quicker. You haven't had to pass as crisp. And then all of a
Hmm.
sudden you go up a level and you're like, oh, now I have to work on these skills. Where if you're getting forced to work on those things and identify those things as areas of growth younger, you're just going to be better at it.
Hmm. Hmm. I do you like is there I don't know if you're looking at a high school kid now, right? If you had to tell if a high school kid is hey, Brendo, what do I need to do, to get to this, to get to this, I say international level. You're a USA rugby coach now as well. Like what is it? Like what is it now? Where are people where are our players deficient and what should they focus on every day? You know?
Yeah, I mean, I think the basics, man, like skill sets, like understanding how to like develop your skill sets from if you're talking like backs, right? Like catch, pass, kicking. I mean, where the game is going is, and this is something big the USA staff is putting out for backs, is every back you want to be a triple threat. And when you
Uh,
triple threat being you're you're able to carry, meaning you can beat people one-on-one, you can get gain line carrying, you can pass, you have the skill sets to pass to put other people in space, or kick. And that's
yeah,
kicking an attacking kick or just kicking in general as needed. And so those are skill sets those are just core skills to develop, right? And passing has changed. Like there's different types of passes. There's
uh,
just your basic under pressure, 5 meter or less push pass. There's a spin pass. There's a bridge pass.
uh,
Like all those types of passes, do you have those? Can you
yeah,
perform them under pressure? Um, and then obviously kicking with both feet. Because if you're attacking a
yeah,
defensive line and you're running left, you're
yeah,
running on the left angle, and there's all of a sudden space in the backfield. If you can't kick with your left foot, it's gonna be pretty hard to get it there with your right.
yeah,
So those core skills being at a level that they can withstand the pressure of less time and space. Then the next thing is people just don't watch rugby, man. Like
yeah,
people don't watch rugby, they don't study rugby. I don't think that's a rugby specific phenomenon. I just think obviously with phones and people just easy access to highlights. So
yeah,
I'd say anybody out there that's trying to pursue rugby, you gotta love the game of rugby, man. You gotta watch
yeah,
rugby, watch the different leagues. There's so much access now, like
yeah,
Flow Rugby, RugbyPass.tv is free, and that has Super Rugby. YouTube replays games. So watching rugby, it builds IQ, and
yeah,
there's plenty of there's articles you can read now about attack and D. There's podcasts.
yeah,
So how are you building your rugby IQ? And we all talk about rugby IQ, but like the specifics of like, are you seeing what's actually happening in the game, right? Like, do you
yeah,
understand attack systems and shapes and why are they working and why are they not working? Um, So that's and then there's the physical side. Like, are you preparing your body properly? Are you fit enough? Like
yeah,
I'm not a big like you have to be a certain size to play a certain position, but there are physical realities to
yeah,
certain positions. Are you playing the right position at a young age?
yeah,
Like, are you going to be big enough to play that? Is your body going to be big enough to be a prop? If
yeah.
not, and you're super athletic, do you need to make the move to hooker earlier? Um,
The
yeah,
age
I
old
mean,
question for a lot of good athletes.
it is.
It's a tough question. There's a tough reality for a lot of really good athletes, especially at NorCal, I'm sure.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. Like back rowers, man, it's really tough if you're a short back rower. Like some of the best hookers in the world are former back rowers,
Yeah,
just
yeah,
because you have to think at the next level, right? Like, are you a line out option? Like, if you're
yeah,
not a line out option as a loose forward, then you better bring something really special. You better be a
yeah,
like incredible ball carrier.
yeah.
Um, and then you're going to be probably what we call the ripper in a line out.
Hmm.
So what are those skills? One of those skills, if you watch rugby, you'll see it all the time, right? The ripper, they do a dummy maul, and then the
Hmm.
ripper's passing to the nine. Well, that's actually not an easy pass. That's like a 10-meter pass. So
Yeah.
like those are things as a player, like be aware of what are the demands of your position, what are the skills, and then how can you ensure like those are things you can work on your own. You can work on it any level and just build those skills.
That's just such a good insight. And I mean, shoot, the level of detail that you have to go into at your level. Like it's almost like you're counting the steps that that the backs are taking, like on the game, like on game days, man.
Yeah, I'd say,
It's incredible.
I'd say it's fun because we talk about it's a simple game, and like I think
Yeah,
that's a funny thing to say. Like it is a simple game in premise. You pass the ball backwards and you're going forward to get the ball into their try zone. But what's changed over the last 10 to 15 years is because again, the game's only been professional since 95, is the layers of detail. Like the layers of
interesting.
detail in like like even just like m- the mall. When I first went to Austin, so my first time in a pro environment, that was the thing I found like the most fascinating because I'm a back, right? Attacking
Hmm.
backs guy. Was Jamie McIntosh coaching the set piece. The level of detail in malls and mall
Yeah,
D. And I remember I left when I like watched a couple of his presentations, called Andrew Cook. I was like, dude, like I got to get you on a Zoom with this guy because like
yeah,
because again we would just we would have he would have never been exposed to it. And
yeah,
I'm like I could go coach that. It's so clear. Like
yeah,
you need to get on with Jamie McIntosh goes by Wappa. I'm like I need to set you up with Wappa, and he got on with Wappa and was just like holy cow, this is unreal. And then immediately just was implementing it. And
yeah,
funny because recently he went out to De La Salle
yeah,
and basically did the same thing. Like,
yeah.
it's just do you that's the coaching part. Like how you got to be careful. How many layers do we go? Like look at what I'm about to do with the anthem. We have a
Yeah.
3 week preseason,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
we're in
I want to talk about that. Yeah. So it's a 3 week lead up. You leave next week, right? Or you leave
I
Thursday.
leave Thursday. Yeah,
So you leave in 2 days. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Today's Tuesday. And you
And then
got
we
3 week
start.
lead
So
up.
March 2nd is I think the Monday, March 2nd is the first day of official preseason across the MLR. So we'll
Okay.
have 3 weeks and then we're into a game week. So again, you talk about like I'm talking about layers of detail. Like, okay, well, how much like you have to build build out everything you need to go play a professional rugby game and give
Hmm.
yourself a chance to win in 3 weeks. And
Hmm.
that includes like also like trying to build a bit of team culture, camaraderie, get to know everybody. And you've got 3 weeks to do it. So that's
Yeah.
where that's where art and science come together of like, okay, like what do we need? What's the messaging? How clear can we make it? How simple while giving us enough, you know, layers and variation, especially from an attacking point of view, to
Hmm.
be successful and create opportunities and score tries. So, um, yeah, I think it's an interesting, bro. It's also a fun puzzle. Like,
Yeah. That's what I was going to say. How much time like, what's a week look like for a player and a coach? Like, what is a well, you got 3 weeks. You're practicing every day. I mean, or what is it? How does that
so
work?
most teams, coaches, at the professional level, coaching is like, dude, the hours would be silly to even calculate. It's a 7 day a week job.
For
Like,
sure. For sure.
um, for players, it's less because obviously players, you're trying to like allow them time to recover physically and mentally.
Yeah.
Um, but most teams go like a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday's like recovery. No, nothing really formal most of the time. And then Thursday, Friday. And then it's preseason, so you like you're probably doing a Saturday, and in season you're in a game. But
Yeah.
most teams are along this kind of listen, any professional coaches listening, like you're doing it differently, awesome. There's obviously variations, but it's pretty similar, like a Monday, assuming a Saturday game, players are off on a Sunday, treatment, all those types of things. Coaches, obviously a huge day reviewing the game, trying to put your review with your preview. How are you going to
Mm.
get those messages across? Usually the coaches meet, whether on Zoom, in person, at the end of the
This
day,
is Sunday after the game.
Sunday,
Yeah.
yeah. So coaches are just getting aligned, usually in the evening, just
Mhm.
like, hey, what'd you see from your review? Everyone covering their areas. What should our messages be? All those good things. And you would have already pretty much done your preview the previous week for next week's opponent.
Mhm.
So you're trying to put those things together. What's our messaging? And then on the Monday, it's a lot of meetings, do a bit of review, do unit reviews potentially. Players are still getting some treatment. Then you're, potentially doing some, every team's different. You might do something on the field. Guys that didn't play, doing some conditioning games. You are installing anything you're going to add
Mhm.
new for the new opponent, which could be 1 to 3 things depending on how you do it.
Yeah.
So pretty light day. Then you go into Tuesday. Tuesday's usually your biggest day. So you'll
Okay.
have unit meetings, team meeting again, your biggest kind of training. Again, just some side meetings, getting things all lined up. You've pretty much buttoned up the review. It's over. Now it's all pushing into the next opponent.
Yeah.
Um, and then as coaches, we'll review that training. So obviously it'll be filmed. We'll review that training. Wednesday, players would be off for recovery for the most part. Coaches, again, I start my preview on the Wednesday
For the next week.
for the next week. Yeah.
Wow.
Because you just have
It's
time.
you have time. Yeah. So it's
So
constant. It's
yeah, so
it's
I would go anything from 3 to 5 games back.
mhm.
Um, and again, you like depending if you have an analyst, like we would have a really good analyst at the Anthem. They're giving you a lot of the film playlists of certain things, but
Yeah.
kind of lining up your thoughts and clips. And this is when I do it. I just think Wednesday's the best day because I have time. Uh,
Yeah.
Players off, like I said. Then we go into Thursday. Thursday's very similar to Tuesday, just a bit tightened up.
Yeah.
And it's more like kind of game rehearsal type training. You're doing 15 on 15. You're, trying to execute. And a big thing is also kind of the pass over to the players. Like from an attack standpoint, by Thursday, me and the 10 and kind of the game drivers, as we call it, should be pretty in line and like they're kind of delivering the messages and, you know,
Hmm.
they're they're executing what we're planning on executing on the weekend. Um,
Because you have to give it to them. Because it's not going to be you. Because it's just
100%.
yeah. You have to give it to them.
I'm
Yeah.
pretty, yeah. Collaboration, I mean, it's everyone talks about it. It's a huge part of it. And it comes down to kind of the relationship and the trust.
Yeah.
Ideally, like in Utah, I had a great relationship with our 10, Joel Hodgson, super experienced, played in the premiership in England for I think he had like 100 plus games before he went to Utah.
Mhm.
But yeah, ideally you're singing from the same hymn sheet and they're running it. And then you still, any corrections needed, any additional chats, fixing things up. And then Friday for most people is, captain's run.
Mhm.
Still get
Yeah.
another chance to just run through. Everyone does it a little differently. Some teams don't do captain's runs or just do a training, whatever. But essentially, it's pretty light and your last little hit before the game, and then you play the game.
Man, I mean, it's talk about a grind, man. You have to, I mean, shoot, I mean, you got to love the game to play it. That's for sure. At a high level, you gotta really love the game to coach it because it sounds like it's just nonstop, right?
Yeah, in season. I mean, listen, we're about to do a 10 game season. Like
yeah,
it's it's a sprint, so it's not too bad. I mean, I think about the guys in Europe, like those guys, those coaches, that season's like 11 months.
yeah. Isn't it 30 something? Yeah, it's like 30
Yeah,
something
it's
weeks or
like
something
30
like that.
plus games,
Yeah,
like
30 games. Yeah,
so, but yeah, I mean, the weekly kind of preview review cycle, and it's like anything, man, you're gonna get what you put into it. So like you can
yeah,
cut corners and maybe watch a little less film, but you
yeah,
know, that's that's gonna show up how it shows up in performances, Like
yeah,
for me, part of our job is we got to put in that time to then deliver very clear images and pictures and messages to the players. So then we can all get on board on this is how we're like, I'm an attack coach. So this is how we're going to attack them and this is why. And D's the same thing.
yeah,
I always give D coaches a hard time because it's way easier to just like see what a team's doing and being like, yeah, we're going to stop that.
yeah,
Whereas attack,
yeah,
it's like, where's the space? How are we going to get to the space? Like, is
yeah.
there consistent? Is there patterns? Are you seeing patterns of something you can attack? And there's a little more. It's a little grayer at times.
But it's maybe a little bit more creativity that you have to create, right?
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
yeah, which
And
D
at
you
the
just
end of
have
the
to.
day, you're selling, man. Like, it's got to be like, and it's
You're
way easier.
selling. Yeah,
It's way easier to
yeah,
sell when you have a good relationship with your influential game drivers
yeah.
and you're on the same page quickly and it's like and there's trust like hey this is the space, this is how I want to attack it, sweet, let's go.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's legit. That's so good. Is there anything, are you looking at like, as, MLR has, kind of gone through a little bit of a reshuffling as you look into this season, right? Five, six teams, right? Five teams, six teams, six teams,
6 teams, yeah.
six teams. Yeah. It's like, are you looking at Anthem in any differently? Are you trying to do things any differently? Is the situation looking like, I don't know, is it looking promising, I guess is what I'd like to say, right? We have a vested interest in MLR because we want our players to get there, And so I'm sure a lot of people are wondering that, you know?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think, listen, I mean, the league and people from the league, I know are being as positive as possible, which is great. And I think in the end, this has been a bit of a reset, which is what people are calling it, which I think can be positive. Obviously, it
I
wasn't
think so.
great. Yeah,
Yeah.
like 5 teams folding. My team was the last team, which um, was another big change I wasn't expecting, but it worked out in the end because I'm now going to be going to the Anthem. But listen, I think the competitiveness this season is going to be at an all-time high. Like you
Yeah.
look at the rosters across the league, and it's been really condensed. Like you went from 11 teams down to 6,
Hmm.
and they've lowered the international numbers, and Canadians count as internationals. So um, there's more opportunities for Americans to play, but
Hmm.
the player pool, you just look across the board at the rosters, like every team's good. And
Hmm.
like it's gonna be competitive. And from an Anthem perspective, we're super excited. Augustine Cavalieri, Kuka, as he's well known,
Yeah.
he's the head coach. He's the forwards coach for the Eagles. He was previously at Dallas, and
Yeah.
he had a huge turnaround at Dallas. They went from, I think, last place in the league to a semifinal and
Yeah.
almost upsetting Seattle and going to the final. And then obviously Dallas left the league and he ended up at the Anthem as an assistant. Now he's the head coach. But man, I've been super impressed with him. And I'm like, we've been, since I agreed to go back in December, we've just been working and we've been connecting with kind of each other and the other staff and players. And yeah, we're very positive and hopeful. And it's a big changeover of the roster. And obviously he's been there, but now he's in charge and all be new. So but most teams, the rosters have changed a lot just because
Yeah.
it was a big reshuffle, and pretty much every player became a free agent, and guys that were happy in the team they had been stayed. But there's a lot of change, and listen, we're going to be attacking it as hard as we can.
Yeah.
And from a player perspective, as a coach, the playing group we have gets me very excited. And as a coach, that's what you want. You just want to be looking at your roster when you're going into a preseason and just get excited and like
Yeah.
know that you can help those boys cook on the weekend and put them in positions to succeed, which I believe we will do.
Yeah, absolutely. And then what is and then what explain the connection with Anthem and USA Rugby a little bit as well. And will you be helping with the national team a little bit too? Is
Yeah,
that how
so
that
I don't, I
works?
mean, hopefully I explain it right. I could be complete, but essentially, I believe World Rugby helps fund the Anthem to be, a connection to the U.S. national team, get as many
Yeah.
Americans. The idea was to get as many Eagles as possible to
Yeah.
the Anthem to
Yeah.
almost be similar to a Super Rugby Americas type team,
Yeah.
where your non-European based or other pro league based guys are kind of playing together, building cohesion,
Hmm.
and then it'll obviously translate into playing better for the national team. But it's just difficult in the MLR landscape because obviously you're competing against other MLR teams for players who also want domestic talent. So it's
Yeah.
not the Super Rugby Americas model is a little different, right? There's one Chile team, there's one Uruguay team, so there's no
Yeah.
competition for their players.
Yeah.
Um, but this season, the Anthem will have the most like capped Eagles, I believe, that they've had. But
Hmm.
that's essentially it, right? So connection with the U.S. national team, a
Yeah.
bit of an extension of it, which is a positive. Obviously, Kuka coaches, he's an assistant. I'm not on the Eagles staff. I'm just because I'm coaching the Anthem,
Got it.
just, involved in some conversations about how they want to do things and some best practice and I'm available. I went to camp just as kind of an extra coach a couple weeks ago, that domestic camp in Chula Vista, just to
Uh-huh.
help out and just be another set of eyes and also
Got it.
for my own development, just be around them and get the experience. So I don't have any formal role with the Eagles at this point, but I'm just kind of in the system, being
Got
with
it.
them
Hmm. That
and
makes sense.
and available. to help as needed.
Yeah, that makes total sense. I mean, you got to think they might put a little bit of a target on Anthem this year too. People might want to play a little bit up against the Eagles team, the Eagles development team, so to speak. I'm interested to see how that'll go,
Yeah, I
for
mean,
sure.
listen, they
Yeah,
haven't won a game in 2 years, so
yeah,
everyone's aware of that,
yeah,
including us.
yeah,
So the goal is just listen, like you want to win a game, make some history, getting the first win, and I'm not really in anything to get one win. So
yeah.
you just get that one and you try to keep it rolling. But I think for fans out there, and you talk about growing the game, I just think get behind MLR. I think the product is going to be as good as it's ever been just because the teams are going to be competitive. There's some new leadership in the league. They're trying their best to put a good product from a fan experience. Um, and it's Goff on your last podcast, which was a great listen. He talked about the support for the national team. And
Yeah.
listen, we all have opinions. I've got a million opinions, as I'm sure you could tell. But like the only thing we should all be able to agree on, if we want rugby to keep growing in this country, we've got to support the national team,
Mhm.
support MLR, and support just means just watch,
Yeah.
participate, go to games. And I think the MLR teams are going to try and do a better job, and they've always consistently tried, but to get out and be part of the community and get people engaged. But like, don't sit on the outside and point fingers and think you could do it better. Get involved. Like,
Yeah.
get involved, support it. We all want rugby to flourish in this country. And in my opinion, we need a professional league to be going, and we need to support the Eagles and help them continue a positive trajectory. So,
I couldn't, God, I couldn't agree more. And you see, you see everyone have their opinions online, but they're afraid to pick up a whistle to ref, or they're afraid to pick up a whistle to go coach, or they're afraid to, go be, or they don't want to go put in the time to actually do like what it takes to help the rugby community. I mean, when it comes down to it, we are like we're tiny, dude. Like
time,
the rugby world is so small, right? Especially in the United States. Like if someone wants to have a ton of opinions on it, I think they need to get in it, and I think your opinions could be validated a little bit. Someone maybe who's willing to take a leap of faith and go coach rugby in the United States, for goodness sakes. Like I think your opinions probably matter a little bit more than someone who's who's not watching anything, not seeing what's happening on Saturdays, and just has thoughts about what USA Rugby should do. So. Yeah, man. I mean, I'm right there with it, and I think you're honestly a beacon for a lot of people who want to get into professional sports in some way, shape, and form. You're going to have to take risks. You're going to have to do things that financially might not be in your best interest, but you need to have an understanding that the end goal is going to get you to a place that's better than probably you ever could have imagined, right? And obviously, I think you're still in the middle of that journey, right? So we don't know where your journey is gonna end, but I think the fact that you've been able to you went down it and you started it and you're seeing a ton of success now is something that's admirable and something that everyone should recognize for sure, man. So just thank you for taking that chance and being that guy, you know?
no, I mean, dude, I just think there's a lot of luck involved. Like they say, I mean, you can help make your own luck just by working hard, trying to be a good person in the environments you go to. But yeah, I mean, this is my fifth season doing this as a job.
Hmm.
Um, and I've been out of a job, however many times, a
Hmm.
couple times already. Um, and just been lucky enough that opportunities arrived and people are taking a chance on me and giving me an opportunity. And it's been a good fit because I've also always said when I got into it as a job was I'm not just going to take a job to have a job. Like it has to be a good fit. It has to be
Hmm.
something I'm excited about doing, or else I'll just go and get, what I call a real job, which people always say, well, coaching rugby is a real job, but you know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and then, but I want to, this is what I want to do. And um, I'm lucky and get to do it. And I do think it is challenging out there. There isn't much of a pathway, right, for coaches in
There
America.
isn't. No, there isn't.
There's not much developed.
You are creating it right now. Like for real.
Yeah, well, that's it, right? You have to be willing to try and create your own. Like I coached at
Mhm.
St. Mary's for, I don't know, like 6 or 7 years for free. I mean, a lot of people don't realize that like St. Mary's, one of the top programs, the top program in the country, if you ask either of us,
Mhm.
probably one of the only teams at the top table that coaches don't get paid. They have full-time jobs and they
100%.
deliver a rugby program as good as any of the coaches, if not better, that some they're getting paid. But I say that to say like there's not a lot of rugby jobs out there. So don't let that be an excuse. Like you can coach, like I was coaching like a professional to the best I knew how while I was an amateur and doing it as a volunteer, right? I was learning how to
Hmm.
coach film. I was learning, studying the game to the best I could. In my, in the late hours of the night, like how can I work on my coaching while I'm managing a full-time job and coaching the Tidy Mighty Gales? But I think another big thing for people out there that like could be dreaming about is just it's not never like just talk to as many coaches as you can. Don't be afraid to like I was just never afraid to look stupid. Like
Yeah.
I was getting guys that are tier one coaches coaching South Africa, whoever, hop on a Zoom with me. And the way I always kind of start those things, if like, because how do you start a conversation with someone who you think's doing what you want to do at a way higher level? I just go like, here's my stuff. Like,
Yeah.
this is how I'm approaching the attack this year at the Utah Warriors. What do you think? What are you seeing? What could I do better? And then
Yeah.
it just gets the conversation rolling. But you can do that in this country. Like I've had some great, like, here's an example. My wife was playing University of Iowa, her basketball team, Oregon Ducks, and I went on the trip
Hmm.
and I just found out, I literally looked up who's the University of Iowa's head coach,
Yeah.
a guy named Tyler Daly. Just sent him a message on LinkedIn, like, hey man, I'm gonna be there for like 3 days, just waiting to watch like one basketball game. If you're around, I'm a rugby coach, I'll have a coffee with you. And he just was like, yes, definitely. And like we met up, had a meal, chatted rugby, and then it just I took so much from it because I'm like, man, this guy's like volunteering at Iowa, huge university. They're
Hmm.
training in the winter at like 5:30 a.m. because that's the only time they can get the indoor field, right? But just like,
Yeah.
I mean, he was like thanking me because we like went through some stuff and
Yeah.
um I'm like, but that just invigorated me. Like there's such good rugby people out there in this country. And sometimes because MLR is losing teams, the national team, people at times want to critique it, but like there's good people and just be one of those.
Yes.
If you want to pursue coaching, you got to be coaching. And then
Yes.
you just got to continue to try and push. And if an opportunity comes, be ready for it.
Yep. Yep. Well, it's putting yourself in a position to take advantage of an opportunity. That's for sure.
Yes,
But you're gonna have to take some risks to get there, without a doubt. I mean, it's the same with the
100%.
play, same with the players. Same thing as a player. You want to get into sports, you want to like you're gonna have to give a lot more than you think you're going to get, and then
Yeah.
eventually, maybe you'll get, maybe you won't. You know what I
And
mean?
it's not, this isn't a sport currently where you're going to get rich in America
Yeah.
coaching or playing. So, yeah, but no, I just feel lucky, man. I feel lucky I get to do it. And the biggest thing I joke around with some of the other coaches is like half the battle is just staying in it. Like, can you keep it moving?
Yeah.
Can
Yeah.
you keep it moving?
Fair point, man. Very good. But well, Brendo, we're way, we're going on long here, and I appreciate you taking all this time with us today. Before we get off, anything you want to say to a player, anything you want to say to coaches, anything that we didn't touch on that you want to hit on before we log off here. Uh,
No, man. I mean, we talked about it. It's just the simple stuff
uh,
like if you want something, like how much are you putting into it?
uh,
Like, are you really living the life of a person who's pursuing that goal? And don't be afraid to step into the person you say you want to be. You want to be a professional rugby player
mm,
someday? Then step into it. Work hard, watch
mm,
rugby, do everything you can, have conversations, get guidance. Same with coaching. If you want to do it, it's gonna take sacrifice, it's gonna take time, but don't be afraid of it. Just step into it.
just go. I love it, man. Awesome. Well, Brendo, thanks for taking the time, man. We appreciate it, man.